Hey guys, Richard here from Troll Line Fishing, and today's Musky Talks podcast is going to be talking about some of my favorite baits to cast late fall. And when I'm talking late fall, I'm talking that, beginning of November all the way till close here in Ontario anyways, which is December 15th. Some of the baits that I'm going to throw, if I'm not trolling, because we do troll a lot this time of year, because it is a little bit more successful, I find, for me, but there's guys who cast and light it up. So I'm going to show you one of my first baits, kind of like my go-to this time of year. And before I say anything, subscribe, make sure you guys enter. We're almost at 200 subscribers, so we can get our giveaway of the Electra bait. I am not sponsored by anybody that I will be talking about today. I am not in any sort of cahoots with any of these guys. These are just my personal opinions. First off is a Ratzilla. Gorgeous Cisco color. This is actually one of my go-to colors. I love everything about it. Now, the way you're going to retrieve this, or the way I retrieve this, is I cast it, it's a pull, a sink, a pull, a sink. So what it does is it simulates this kind of motion in the water. So it's doing like a dive and rise almost. And with the constant vibration of this, the constant movement of this, it looks very good for fish. And some of the greatest strikes come off rubber baits. And I find the Ratzillas are amazing. Canadian company, really nice. As you can see, I've got a little bit, like something's hit that, chewed her up. Oh, I can't get that in there. Chewed up a little bit on my top part. It's hit there, of all places. I've had a few weird hits with these style of baits where they've hit up here and they've kind of held on to the bait like this and not got any hooks in their mouth. How, I can't tell you, but it happens. And if I'm feeling like the water temps are really low and I want to go even slower than that, because they do have a little bit of weight on them, the rubbers, so it makes it a little bit harder to, kind of stay slow, especially when the temps are getting below 50. That's a good old Suic, Leviathans, no weights, maybe one weight if you want to just go down a bit, and you're just going to pop these guys. Pull it slow, change it up a bit, count 5 seconds, pop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pop, next time do 3, 1, 2, 3, pop, and just constantly work them and change it up, but let it pause, because in the winter, or not the winter, sorry, in the late fall seasons, they're not dormant musky, but they're not as active, I believe. I truly think they do slow down with water temps. And then, even though I said trolling is very effective, you're usually crawling at 2 miles an hour. And, you don't want to be rolling anything so fast in that the muskie can't keep up with it. But yeah, I would just be slowly popping this guy in, changing up the amount of time. Hey, pop it, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Pop it. Next time, 1, 2, 3, pop, and constantly change it up. Love this color pattern. I've had this. I think I threw this bait once myself. I usually throw Leviathans, so I gotta get this guy back in my box. I took it out and I forgot to put it back. But Suics are great baits. There's a lot of guys who have great success. I've seen on other people's videos where they're using these late fall in the St. Larry, and they're killing fish with it. Now, this is another style of rubber bait like the Ratzilla. It is a Medusa. Medusas have really taken over the market over the last few years. Especially in the US, I have found they've really taken, this one's got one eye. He's been through some battles, as you can tell. But they have definitely taken over the market. This is like a perch kind of variation, really nice color. And it's the same style as the Ratzilla. It's a pull. You can troll these just like you can the Ratzillas. The tail's going crazy. So great bait to have in your box. I do recommend you have at least one of each of these style baits in your box late fall, especially if you're really into casting. I think it really can help you bag a few big ones this late fall season. Now, I'm going to this one here. It's new, I think, for the past 2 years, and something about its uniqueness of the paddle tail with the tail I really enjoy, and that's the Restless Rider. So this one color here I just won. I have a white and I have one of the the clear ones, but the tail wobble with this, you can reel this guy straight in. You can do a pop action. You can do a pop, pop, reel, pop, pop, reel. You can constantly change up the movement that this bait does for you. And that's one thing what I think makes it so deadly this time of year. And sometimes they don't want that big of a bait. right? So this one here is a little bit smaller. The tail is part of this bait. Like I think it's 14 inches or 15 inches with the tail, the Radzilla, where this guy here is pulling in maybe at around 12 at the high. Actually, not even. You're looking at about 10 inches for this guy here. So it's a smaller presentation, but it still has got a lot going on, a lot of vibrations, a lot of different techniques you can do with it. And I think that's what's really unique about it, is the fact that this tail is thumping while this guy is going crazy. And it's just setting off the right vibe to fish. There's some big 50s caught on these late last season. I remember seeing a few pictures. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. So now one of my last baits, it's similar to a Bondi. It's a red October tube. I absolutely love the way these tubes dance in the water. They are absolutely incredible baits. They're just big tubes. I understand some people go, dude, we do that for bass. I get it. Just the style of these baits, the way that they pull, you know, they kind of go like this in the water. You can sit there, let them drop, pull them up, let them drop, pull. Like, it's amazing what can be done with these. And I have to honestly say, price-wise, they're very reasonable. That was something I was I was shocked with. I thought they were a lot more expensive compared to what you see some of these rubber baits selling for. And I was shocked to see that they were really well priced. This guy here's bent a bit. I've fished this quite a bit. I do enjoy fishing it. It is a different style of fishing. Once again, though, you have to kind of look to your conditions. Like, a lot of people forget that your conditions matter what kind of baits you fish. It's hard to fish one of these baits in a thick chop or a rough chop. I don't know why I said thick, but a very big chop. Just because it's going to try to pop out if you're trying to reel it in too fast. A Suic. Great bait to cast, but when there's too much roughness out there, I was going to say chop again, too much chop, it's very hard to get this guy to stay the where you want. You'll have to add weights to it just to kind of get it down a bit so it's out of that column. And you know, Medusas and Radzillas, you can fish those kind of any conditions. So that's one thing that's really good about these types of guys. You know, and there's some of them that are rigged differently. There's some that are heavier and lighter than others. There's different sizes of these. Like, this is just, I think, a regular size. I have pounders upstairs. I have ones that are a little bit bigger on the bottom. You can see that they're wider than these. I just personally really like this one because of the colors. It's a lot of the waters I will be casting these in are usually Cisco based water, so the blue with the silver and the white belly and the orange tail as a flare, I think it just really adds a pop to it. So that's just some of my late go-to fall baits that I have really started to fish as of late. I would have started realistically in the Kawarthas. Anything below 58 for me in the Kawarthas, it's late fall. The lakes start going through something. You need slower retrieval, slower, you know, trolling. Funny enough, I have this discussion with Steve a lot. I gotta do a podcast with Steve, get him here with me, talk to him. Maybe I'll do it while we're in Lake St. Clair, because we're coming back again. We booked the 13th, 14th, and actually the 12th. We're going literally driving down the 12th to sleep and then get up the next morning, AM, on the lake, hitting it hard. Hopefully the winds cooperate. I want to go on Bell River one day. Anyways, I gotta get Steve on a video with me, ask him a bunch of questions, see what his insight is on this, and but anyways, this is kind of like where when the Kawarthas hit the below 58, they really start slowing down. I find without using live bait, it is a lot more difficult to catch a fish. Me and Steve, though, the very first year we started musky fishing, it was one where I caught a 40-inch musky or 41-inch musky, and Steve caught something that day as well. And you know, I had just bought the Mojo musky 7'6", and Steve goes, Rich, he's like, look at that, like, that thing's a telephone pole. And now, you know, I'm fishing a 9'6", 8'6". He's got 8-footers, 8'6". Like, we have all those rods there. And, you know, it was funny because it's kind of like where we began. But that day when we got there, it was -1 on the ride, and, you know, -3, -4 overnight. And I had said to him, I go, man, I don't know, the lakes are very inactive, this and that. And that's what I've been saying to him recently, that they're very inactive. And then, you know, we were looking over kind of, that's why I like YouTube as well. It kind of gives us kind of a library of when we fish. So that was before we had holders and we had, you know, fish finders. So the water temps, I'm assuming, were definitely low 50s. Funny enough, we were trolling 7 or 8 Joe Bucher tail blades. And we were catching fish. We caught 3 or 4 fish that day. And it was funny enough because when I go out now, I'll only troll cranks. You know, I pull out a big blade, like double 13s. I trolled those a bunch this year. or not this year, this late season. And I said to myself, I maybe should have gone back to the basics. And, I've emphasized that a few times in these podcasts that, you really need to go back to the basics sometimes and take out the mentality that every other guy who fishes musky knows more than you. Because at the end of the day, go with what you believe. And I'm not saying there's not guys who don't know their things. That's absolutely, there's always going to be pros in an industry. But I also think you need to explore for yourself, and you need to try things out yourself. Just because musky fishing is so much fun. I pike fish all winter until till musky open. As soon as musky open, I'm out musky till close, and then I'm back to pike again. This year here we are going to hit musky in Montreal. There's a zone that is open for musky all year till March 31st, and then they close again till the second week in June. Like, that's amazing. I'm getting in musky through the ice this year, and I don't care what anybody tells me. They can go ooh and ah about it, but I'm gonna do it. Even if I gotta go for a weekend with my wife, I'll tell her she can go do whatever she wants in Montreal, the spa, casino. She can have a blast. I'll be on the ice ripping some lips up. No, I'm gonna be fishing for musky, of course. Nice big dead sardine. Oh God, I'm so excited for that. But me and Steve are out on LSE from 13th, 14th. We're going to drive down on the 12th, though. If we get out on the Thames, maybe for a few hours, we'll try that. If not, we're going to be out there for sure on the 13th, which is the Saturday. I'm really excited to get out there with Steve this time again. I don't think I've ever fished this late into a season myself. Usually November 1st or November 3rd last year was my latest. And now I'm really starting to push the envelope. Like, I'd like to leave my boat out till December if it allows me, but it looks like Southern Ontario is going to get hit with some snow soon. And at the end of the day, when snow is there, it's usually too cold overnight. And I know guys say you can leave your boat out all year. That's, for me, I don't feel safe doing it. I'm worried about my lower end oil and all this stuff, and I don't like changing it at this time of year. Now, mind you, if you had a heated space your garage is in, you can keep your boat out as late as you want. That does not matter. If you don't have a heated space, you got to worry about freezing, live well lines, gas tanks. And I'll give you a helpful tip that I was told. Seafoam your motor, guys. Seafoam in your gas tank. Put seafoam in your gas tank. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just saying what I would do. Put seafoam in your gas. Make sure you check the right measurement. Like a 40-liter tank takes 1,473 approximately. It takes a little bit less, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to save 10 mils or 15 mils. So 473 does about 40 liters. So I dump that in, and what it does is it turns the water in your tank to that stabilizer, and it kind of adjusts it, and then it allows your motor to burn it off. Because a lot of people don't realize gas can have up to 10% ethanol. 10% ethanol. Ethanol can now get moisture. So in a 100-liter tank, you could have up to 10 liters of water in it if you never put seafoam in it and it's sitting long enough. That's an issue because gas and water separate. Gas will always go on top. Your boat tries to draw the fuel from the bottom. If the water freezes in your tank, it's going to be trying to pull ice, and that's where you can blow a motor because there's no fuel going to the motor. It'll just have what's in the line. So just an extra precaution you take if you're going to be out late this fall. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully, so I'll have another Musky podcast coming up next week on Wednesday. I don't think we'll be getting another video till St. Clair. I'll post it whether we catch or not. Obviously, I hope we catch. We had a little bit of a rough outing last time getting 3 fish. I'm hoping we get 3 fish a day. Like, I'd love that. Nice 3, 4, 5 fish a day. Like, the week we left, people lit it up. Like, people got 30 fish in like 7 days when we left. Like, literally we left. The next day it was Bang City. It was all over the place. Anyways, hopefully, guys, that we get it done this time. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast, and stay tuned for another podcast next week. See ya.